And Erin has graciously allowed me to use one of her drums that she makes and have it over there. This song that I'm going to sing is my peace song. It's a blessing. It speaks about having peace on earth. This song was gifted to me through Spirit at a gathering that we had. Grandmother Agnes Baker Pilgrim, who is the oldest Select member, and she is also the oldest member of the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers, whom I help to support and speak out for. Again, thank you all for coming. It's going to be a really good day. We had fun last night. If you weren't here, you missed some fun. And my voice is trying to go, so say a little prayer for me.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, there's going to be some great information today. I guarantee it. I've got it on the QT from last night. I was kept awake about half the night with things that are supposed to happen. Listen up, okay? Welcome. Okay. We'll have some words later today about what's going to happen tomorrow, but one thing I did want to let you know right away first thing. We have a program over there for Sunday's classes. Most of the classes are going to be offered twice, so if you can't catch them one time, you can catch them the other time. Okay? The two classes, first two classes I'm going to do are classroom instruction, followed by a practicum outdoors for two classes. There are some that will only be offered once. Toby's will only be offered once, and Mitchell Townsend's will only be offered once. So go through that little brochure, see which ones you want to see. Unfortunately, Jamie was not able to make it. She had a last-minute catastrophe hit and couldn't make it, so we won't have our casting class that we had planned on having, and I'm going to miss that. But if you have any questions, come talk to somebody. Okay? One word of admonition. If there's somebody on the stage speaking, please don't be at the tables around. The acoustics in here are too good. Okay? And we can hear you from here if you're talking in the back of the room. And it's kind of disconcerting for people that are trying to deliver an address. So just, you know, let's be respectful. That's what it's all about. But then that's what we're all about, isn't it? Okay? Have a great time. All right?
Can you hear me? I need a step stool. Good morning, I'm Sandy Nelson, and I'm your MC for the day, and so it's my job to keep this rolling along. We're going to have a great day, like Tom said. Right now, we're going to hear from a man, Scott Taylor. I was introduced to Scott in 2013 when he educated me to the world of Sasquatch. And he's so extremely knowledgeable, friendly, outgoing. He led me to my boots on the ground hobby, I'll call it. He is a Boeing engineer. He follows fascinating habituation events. He is a BFRO researcher, and he became a knower in 2005. Please welcome Scott Taylor.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. Okay, so I'm Scott Taylor. Shirley told you that. Let's see if this is going to go the right direction. Okay, so who am I? Well,
Scott Taylor.
oh yeah, that's right. Like Sandy said, I work at Boeing. So I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, 60s and 70s. You know, Patterson Gimlin film had just come out, you know, a few years before, and it's like, yeah, Sasquatch. Well, you know, that's kind of cool. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Underage kid, spent my time running around in the woods. Spent a little time in the Marine Corps. Then I went to college after that. Got a mechanical engineering technology degree. So then I worked around the country at different places doing scientific research and all that. And then I had my first encounter with a Bigfoot in October 2005, and I became a knower. That was over in the Wainuchi Valley, and it was kind of like that guy. So my first encounter is shown up there in the photo, and we've since bought a place that's only about 10 miles as the crow flies from there, and having a little bit of activity out there. So, how many of you have seen that Travel Channel show, Fear of the Woods? Okay, so I was interviewed. I didn't know it was going to be on that show. I didn't have any idea what they were going to do with the interview. I was just asked to be interviewed about a Bigfoot encounter. So I told them about my first one. Well, they did a production on it. They turned it into something that was alive. Okay. It was really upsetting to me to see what they did with what I told them. I told them the truth. I told them the real story. So I was going to tell you the real story here, in case you watch it. So anyway, we had parked up here at the gate, walked in, all the way down to here, spent the day sitting against the stump, had a camouflage burlap piece of fabric across the top of us just to, you know, kind of keep warm and out of the wind. At the end of shooting light, we walked back to this little road, started walking here. Right here, I found this little tiny pile of rocks sitting on a log, and I looked at that and I thought, well, that looks kind of strange. You know, who would pile those rocks up there? But I didn't give it much thought because I didn't know anything about what Sasquatches do. So then we're walking along this road here, right about in here, we ran into this wall of stink. I mean, that you know, you take somebody with BO and rolling around cow manure and dead animals and all that kind of thing, roll it all together, that's kind of what it smells like. I stopped and looked around, didn't see anything. Didn't say anything to my friend Barbara, who was with me. And by the way, they portray her in a very negative way. I hope she never ever sees that show. Another reason for being a little bit angry about what they did. But anyway, we kept walking. It wasn't all that scary. They portrayed it as we're being chased out of the woods. We weren't. We were just walking along, and it was following the creek, so it was walking along with us. We didn't know it. We didn't know it at the time. We got up here to this little intersection and turned to go this way, and right here's where the creek crosses under the road, and that's where we saw it. And it's just standing down there in the brush below us, about 20 yards away, standing there swaying like this. Not making any moves or anything. We hear the sticks pop. Then it let us walk on by. So we walked on by. We got just around the corner from it, and it stepped up on the road and vocalized 4 beautiful woohoo calls. You could hear it for miles, I'm sure. So that scared us. That definitely scared us, because all of a sudden I'm going through my mind going, what could that be? You know, this deer, elk, bear, birds. Couldn't think of anything, so the only thing left by process of elimination was Sasquatch. And suddenly, now I knew. It became real. So, because we weren't, when it was down in here, we weren't really sure what we were seeing. It was just a big, dark hole. Because it was after hunting hours, starting to get dark. But we could see something down there. So we hot-footed it out of there, and I went home, and I got on the computer, and I found the FRO website, some other sites that had recordings that I could listen to, and I found a pretty close match. So that kind of cemented it in my mind as to what it was. So that's all there was to it. It wasn't a big, crazy running for your life situation that producer produced. So when you see that, if you see that, take it with a grain of salt. So, okay, so what credentials do I have? So after that encounter, I became kind of obsessed with it. And I'm reading every report I can find. I'm online at lunchtime looking in the report databases and all that from all different kinds of sites. And so I thought, well, I got to go on an expedition because I saw BFRO had public expeditions and I needed some answers. So I went on an expedition to the Cascades. That was great fun. Great fun. I started learning about, I met Bob Gimlin. I met a really wonderful gentleman named Al Scahan, and he's a Yakima Indian, part of their tribe, and he's a forester. So he's out there all day, every day. And talk about an education. I spent 3 hours out in the wilderness area with him, and he taught me a ton. We even found a big old footprint and a track line. So that was a lot of fun. So, but I got introduced to the Native American spin on it, the stories of the Bigfoots, where they came from, who they were, little people, their relationship to us, all of that. Good start, really good start. I've since seen 5 more Bigfoot creatures in doing expeditions and actually out hunting. Interacted with a whole lot more, a lot of fun stories, a lot of good times with that. Investigated more than 170 reports, although the last few years, due to a change in job, I've slowed down a lot because of additional responsibilities with that. But I still do it. And I usually work the area from the Cascades west and the Olympics south. It's generally most convenient for me, and I leave the rest of the state to the other people. And what I do when I take a report is I have a file on Google Earth, and I put a pinprick there, and you can see they're everywhere. And people will ask me, well, where do you go to the Sasquatch? You go anywhere there's woods. You might want to have maybe some ponds and swamps and rivers and that kind of thing around, but they're everywhere. So you can find them just right around here, I'm sure. So what I'm going to talk to you more about is living with the forest people. So when you first start into research, first get interested in it, you think you're looking for a great big wood ape. And something that's dumb like a bear, maybe not real smart, just really elusive. And the more you research, the more you talk to other researchers, the more you interact and talk with witnesses, a picture starts to appear. And pretty soon you're realizing, no, we're not talking about a dumb way. We're talking about a person, a human being, different from us, lots bigger, heavier, stronger, some really unique abilities, but they're not a dumb way. So, what happens then is you get to the point where figure out you got to live with it because they're all around you. And what we do is when people file reports, you're going to get a couple of different kind of reports. And one's the incidental report. That's where someone driving down the road going to Greenwater here, one runs across the road. Okay, so what do you learn from that? You learn that you went across the road there. You learn maybe what it looked like, what time of day it was, what time of year it was, that kind of thing. But it doesn't help you understand who they are. And then you got your habituation reports. And that's where the meat and potatoes are. That's where you're really going to learn a lot. So what I call the first type, that's where like somebody files a report or they're living out in a rural area and there's some kind of persistent activity around the home. It goes, it just keeps happening. It's they might have a house that is, kind of all by itself, or it doesn't even need to be that. I mean, they go where they want to go, and if they like hanging around your place, they're going to do that. It could also be a favorite camping spot, someplace you go every year or maybe every month, and you think, this is my favorite spot, like we're fishing here, that kind of thing, and they get used to seeing you. And then over time, there's a long history of interaction with them, but sometimes, most of the time, the person doesn't really understand what's happening. They don't necessarily think Bigfoot. They think there's something's going on. And what happens is the local Sasquatches, they love to observe us. And so they know who lives in that house, and they know when they come, when they go. And they just watch us. The Native Americans call them the watchers. That's one term they use for them. And they're comfortable with those people because they're used to seeing them. And it always seems like there's one person in the family that they really seem to gravitate towards. It could be a special needs child, like for instance somebody with autism or something like that. They have a sense of empathy for them, and they have a connection with them. Or it could be a non-threatening adult. Most of the time it's the woman of the home. And sometimes they just like to watch people, just for fun. Sometimes they'll watch a TV. We'll talk about that a little later too. The second type, this is where a researcher purposely goes and finds a place. They go to that place over and over. They might go like every month, spend 3 or 4 days, and over time, and it might take years before you start getting persistent interaction with them, but it's a lot like a Jane Goodall type research. That even then, they're not going to come just right out and sit across the campfire from you. It's going to be at night, generally. It's going to be very subtle. You'll get recordings, you'll see eye glow, that kind of thing. You might hear them chatter and all that. Like I said, Dr. Matt Johnson does that. He's worked a couple of sites, had some amazing learning from that. It works well, but it takes a huge effort and time. He was driving 800-mile round trip once a month down to Southern Oregon to visit his spot down there. So that's usually beyond what most of us can afford to do. So when I have to deal or I'm dealing with a habituation report, there's a certain way I do it. So first thing, naturally, you're going to contact that witness and arrange to go there. You're going to interview the witness and just ask open-ended questions. What's going on? Tell me what you saw. That kind of thing. And then they're going to start telling you things which will allow you to ask them more questions and pull some more information out. You ask them about strange happenings, things that the witness does not connect to Sasquatches. So then, after you feel like you've gotten the most of what you can from what they've observed, you start teaching them about how to observe, and teach them maybe keep a journal, let them borrow an audio recorder, put that out, or tell them what kind to get, that kind of thing. And how to just go about their day and just observe without appearing to be observing. People that live out in places like that are very tuned to what's going on around them, because they're not hearing traffic and all that, they're just hearing nature around them. And so when something is different, they kind of know it. Let's see here. And then I stay in contact with them and go back, once a month, every other month. If something really cool happens, they'll call me up, and I'll go down there and see what's going on. But I try to stay hands off, because the Sasquatches that live there are not used to me. They don't know me. So when I go there, they'll fade off back into the brush a ways. Over time, they may become a little more tolerant of me. At our Napa Vine site, they kind of stick around a little closer now when I'm there. But they're just more used to their family that's there. So one thing I also do is take a real low-key approach. I don't walk in there and start throwing up trail cameras all over the place and making a ruckus. I let the witness show me around. I take pictures. So we do a few audio recordings, maybe, like I said, I usually leave an audio recorder with them. Use my thermal camera. They don't seem to mind that too much. But regular cameras, they don't seem to like those at all. And then trail cameras, they generally don't work. If you're having an interaction with Sasquatches that is uncomfortable for you and you want them to go away, put up trail cameras. They'll go away. They don't like to be photographed, at least not without permission. But trail cameras have a place. If there's some weird stuff going on and you want to rule out raccoons and possums and squirrels and that kind of thing, put up the trail camera and see what happens. What usually happens is nothing. You won't see any of these other animals messing around with anything. So by process of elimination, you'll figure that, well, it's not the natural kind of, or Sasquatch is natural too, but it's not what you'd expect, like a raccoon messing with something, or maybe a raven coming down and picking something up and running away with it, or a squirrel grabbing something and running off to its nest. You rule those things out, and that's where the trail cameras work. Plus you get to see lots of pictures of deer and those kind of things. So if you got Sasquatches for neighbors, there's the initial realization that something's going on. And you're going to feel like you're being watched. Some people are more sensitive to this. Most of the guys are not very sensitive to it. There are a few that are. I worked with a witness last year who was so overwhelming to him that he actually, after a few months, had to break off contact, and he was talking to moving. I told him, well, I wasn't doing good, they're going to follow him anyway. But you feel like you're being watched. Usually it's children or the woman of the home picks up on that first. Like I said, some people are more sensitive to the presence. And then there's strange things going on they can't explain. And sometimes they've commented they feel like their house is haunted because they hear things around their house and in their house that they just can't explain. And it's all kind of freaky to them. But no matter where you are, when you're having an interaction from this kind of situation, they do the same things. Place after place after place. They have the same habits that they do. So we're going to talk about some of those because that's what you're going to see when you're living with them as neighbors. Okay, so they like to watch people. Very observant, already mentioned that. You'll hear vocalizations and strange noises. Most people who are not used to being out in the woods will pass those off as just like a bird call or something like that. They won't connect what it is. So they're going to take some things from around your place. If you leave your tools out or that kind of thing, they'll take that. But also watch for them to put something back. And it may be as innocuous as a little pile of pine cones or a little pile of rocks or something like that, some feathers. But they'll leave you something. They'll alter the force. They'll change things around and leave signs that they're there. And then they will make attempts to communicate, but it's in their own way. They won't come out and say, hi, how are you, shake your hand, and have a conversation with you. I read one account where they said they described it as being like having a conversation in slow motion. And they have a sense of humor. They will mess with you, and they will have fun with you. And it's okay, and it is fun once you realize they're just clowning around with you. You can clown around back a little bit too. So, like I said, they have their favorite person. Sometimes they'll come out at night and they'll kind of call to that person. I'm going to show you a picture here of a situation where that was happening. They're so observant, they didn't even know which bedroom everybody sleeps in. It's a little freaky, huh? And they direct their attention towards that person, and it doesn't stop. It just happens over and over again. Sometimes the Sasquatches have like a circuit. They follow, so they might go away for a couple of weeks. They'll come back. A couple of weeks later, you'll be having an interaction again, or sometimes it's seasonal. So in this photo, so the witness's bedroom is up here in this corner of the house, which just happened to be behind a tree. That was the best picture I could find. And there's this old stump here, and they would hide behind the stump and call to that person. And she would get up and she would look out there, she could see the eyeball and hear them. Her husband watched one go up one of these trees in his FLIR. He has a little FLIR Scout, so he was able to watch that. Have a lot of interaction right on around the porch. Matter of fact, the first indication that they had a Sasquatch around was they had about a half-inch of snow. And they opened the doors to let the dogs out. Dogs and Matt started rolling around on something. And they walked outside. They said, man, it stinks out here. What's going on? And then they saw these two big footprints. And they were right by these windows looking in. Well, they've since curtained those windows so that they can't do that because they like to have their privacy too. But their TV is right in there too, so they're watching TV. But what had happened was the heat pump that's right here turned on and the Sasquatch was standing there, scared it, and it messed all over itself. Left that mess all over the deck, and that's what the dogs were rolling in. So it was real comical. And that's still going on. We were over there earlier in the week. Here's another thing. This is over at our new place, and we graveled in the driveway here. And while they were building our new garage for us, I went over there when they were bringing the trusses, and I noticed that there was a big butt print right here. The legs poke out this way. You could see the butt crack there and everything. It was sitting there in the driveway watching our house. There's where it was sitting. You notice there's a bedroom, there's a living room. So it was sitting there watching. We weren't home, so it was pretty boring for him, I think. But he sat there for a while. But that's the kind of thing you look out for. They'll take things, like I said, the tools. People we talk to over towards Satsoft and that area down in there along the Chehalis River mentioned that they all learned that you had to put your tools away when you're done at the end of the day. If you left your tools out, you might be missing. There wasn't tweakers and that kind of people coming around. They were just disappearing. Toys. Kids leave the toys out, toys disappear. Toby over there has some examples where they somehow have a stash of toys somewhere and they'll bring them to you, so if you ask for it. One site, the boys would lose their ball down into the ravine behind their house. They had a basketball court between the house and the ravine, and they kept losing their balls, and then so one day they took a big bag of oranges and set out for the Sasquatches. They heard them down there. They were doing a little vocalization, so they had returned. and they put out the oranges. The next morning, all the balls were back up in the middle of the court, and the oranges are gone. So that's how they roll. They'll take food from outdoor refrigerators and freezers. One of the questions I always ask is, do you have a freezer or a refrigerator that's accessible from the outside? And they'll stop and think about it and go, yeah. And I say, shoot, I've been blaming my kids for leaving the freezer open. All these years, it wasn't the kids. The kids kept saying, no, Dad, it's not us. One woman said, yeah, we were wondering what happened to all the carrots that they had in the refrigerator in their barn. So, they like the animal food too. One site, they kept helping themselves to the horse feed. And they actually tipped the whole, there's like one of those 55-gallon drums of horse feed. And it tipped over and went around their feet. And so when they stepped away, it left 2-foot-shaped impressions in there. So they were able to tell, well, that's what was eating that horse food. And they'll help themselves to an occasional chicken, duck, or turkey. One site guy had a group of turkeys in a pen, and if those turkeys nested within arm's reach of the fence, they disappeared. So they all learned to huddle in the middle. And fruits and vegetables. If you have fruit trees, when the fruit comes ripe, they'll take the fruit from the top and they'll leave the fruit on the bottom for you. They're not gluttons, they don't just eat it all. So, things that they might leave for you. Okay, they're going to leave gifts. It's usually an exchange between you and them. For you to figure out what's going on, you leave things out for them, they'll take those things, they'll leave something for you. One site, when I was early into the research, the guy that we were helping out, he had left a little squishy toy soccer ball he had out of one of those claw machines. He left one of those on a stump, and he came back a week later, it was gone. And we went back there within 6 weeks later, and it was back. So evidently the exchange that was there, he didn't recognize, didn't take it, he thought, bad trade, give him his merchandise back. They'll leave stick glyphs and rock formations as kind of a form of communication. Thom knows a lot about the glyphs and what they mean. So if you want to know what glyphs mean, Thom's got to talk to you. I learned most of what I know about them from talking to Thom. Gifting sites, we left watermelon, apples, corn, some honey, some peanut butter out of this one site. Went back a week later, and that's what it looked like. They'd eaten all the watermelon, eaten all the corn, eaten all the apples. They didn't really do anything with the honey, they didn't know what to do with it. But notice the hole in the peanut butter jar. Well, it turns out what they do is they take your thumb or something, and they poke a hole in there, and then you take a stick and you poke in there and you get the peanut butter out and you eat it off of it. They were doing that down at Matt Johnson's research site in Southern Oregon. He's the one who put 2 and 2 together, figured out what it was. We couldn't figure out what was going on with that. So thank him for doing that. But, Dave Ellis was able to get cast this piece here and get the teeth marks that were in there. And those teeth are about 3/4 of an inch wide. So at the little site down there in Appledine where I showed you the little house in the stump, they've been leaving food out in a bowl and put saran wrap over the top of the bowl and then putting a milk crate over the top of that. So whatever was taking the food had to lift the milk crate off, take it off, pull the saran wrap back, take the food, and then put the saran wrap back and put the milk crate on top. So they were showing you that it's not a bear. By making it a little more complicated, it rules out bears and raccoons and that kind of thing because they don't do that. So one day they had fed them, and while they were in their living room watching TV, Sasquatches came up and left this right on the picnic table on that desk while they were right there, 10 feet away. That's how subtle and stealthy they were. So, and then they started leaving apples in bags, and they took a stick and they put it way up in the tree, where it's about 15 feet up, not that, 12 feet up. And Sasquatches would take them, and they always leave one. And they returned the gift with 12 little mice, and that's just some of them, wrapped up in grass. in a nice neat pile. That's pretty sophisticated gifting, if you ask me. So we've gone out there and we left some things for them. And here's the cool part. We had an old pizza tray. We piled it full of peanut butter jelly sandwiches. We left. We spent the night there. They didn't touch them all night. We left. The next night, they took them. But what they did is they took one sandwich. Well, they left one there, and they took another sandwich and they left it on their back door, just like that. So when they let the dog out, the dog sniffed it, didn't eat it, and just took off, did his business. But they noticed that there when they let the dog back in. And it's as if to say, thank you for the gift, here's yours. So we thought that was pretty cool. Good thumbprint in that one. And then we got gifts, rocks. This is pretty cool. They made a ring out of stones and they filled it with these carnelian agates that they got out of the Whatcom River. That took a lot of effort on their behalf to get that. Another little pile of rocks there. This is really recent. Went out and found these little rows of stones and little piles of stones here that weren't there when they went to bed. So you really got to pay attention too. Some of them are very small. This is a step on the deck. And they made this little lift out of fir needles. And here's another one. You see his finger, how small these things are. And you think, well, did that happen by chance? Oh, well, it's a possibility, but when you find half a dozen of those in the same place, then that's not by chance. Ferns. One side I was investigating, I found this lift that was 4 pieces of fern set up in the form of a W. And that's right where the guy was sitting when he observed 4 individuals poke their heads out from behind the tree and look at it, 2 adults and 2 children. I guess they're indicating with the 4 ferns that there was 4 individuals there, but definitely associated with them. So you start playing games with them. You put out your glyph and you see what they do to it. So this is one little glyph that we put out, and then went back a week later and that's how they changed it. Here's another example. Set out a set of stones and that kind of thing. Right here is a little rock with a little heart painted on it, crystal, feathers, that kind of thing. And then come back a week later. Well, this has been turned around. Some stones have been moved around. This little stone that was on this little rock is now over here. But you have to look really close. That's why you need to take a before picture and an after picture, because it's really subtle what they do. We've left crystals out that they've taken and never returned. Someday they'll come back. Little figurines, little figurines of bears and that kind of thing. For a while we were putting 4 rocks on a stump, and we come back and they take 1 rock away. And so we put it back and they take another rock away. And what they were saying is there's 3 of us, me, Susan, and the dog. So when we put the 4th one there, they go, no, there's not 4 of you, there's only 3 of you, and they take the rock away. Let's see, okay, back up here. So we started leaving out glyphs that look like this, just for fun. Nothing happened, for weeks and weeks nothing happened. Then we planted these trees, and as soon as we planted these trees, they started messing with the glyph. So definitely purposeful. Okay, then one thing you're always going to see if you look around is X's. Some people think it means it's the sign for their kind. Dr. Johnson calls them the Janu. But wherever they're at, they'll leave those X's. And that's kind of like a calling card. There's a little one scratched in the deck. Kind of see it right there. Okay, so we'll make changes in the forest. Look at some of these. So to make structures, they'll arrange the trees in a certain way that does not happen naturally. Some of these, if you, like when we were looking at this one over here, if you were standing there looking at it, it looked a lot better than what you could get out of the picture. But what it was is a bunch of vine maples that had been pulled over and woven together. to make kind of like a canopy. And it didn't look like it was protected from the rain very well, but it was definitely something that somebody had constructed. And there was no sign of people around there either. The block access to certain areas. They'll weave the branches in such a way that you have a more difficult time going through there because they don't want you in there. They'll form trees in odd ways, like one wrapped around the other like a bark pole. See them out a lot. That tree bent in a 360-degree circle and continued to grow. Now, that was probably done when the tree was little, but even if the tree's half an inch thick, we try to bend it around in a circle, we're going to break it. So somehow they're figuring out how to do it without breaking it. And then it stays that way and continues to grow for the rest of its life. I've seen that a number of times, different places. This tree kind of is bent in a kind of a horseshoe shape. That was a witness's picture, so it's not a very good one. And then they'll try to communicate. Howls, whistles, knocks, rock clacks. Really cool. They can really whistle. It's really interesting. Good to hear. Fun to hear. Susan and I were out at our Napa Vine witnesses, and we were going to go out there towards the evening. We called them and said, we'll bring dinner. So we brought pizza. We stopped and got a pizza, cooked it, and we took it out and ate it at the picnic table. And while we were eating pizza at the table, they were in the woods about 50 yards away whistling at us. This beautiful trilling whistle. And then, especially for those people that are more sensitive to their presence, look for mental images, go through your mind like a slideshow, reading your memories, that kind of thing. You might be trying to show you something, get you to recognize something, but watch for that. When you start into Bigfoot research, like I said, you think you're dealing with a big dumb wave, and then you realize you're dealing with a being that has a lot more capabilities than that. And one of those is the ability to communicate with you through mental images, telepathy, mind speak. Some people are really good at hearing them. Others of us are kind of like tone deaf to them. But you can receive their thoughts and emotions, and they can receive yours. Pay attention to your dreams, because sometimes they'll be speaking to you through your dreams. This was fun. That's our witnesses out in Napa Vine. They put up a swimming pool. Never got to use it. Sasquatch started using it right from the first day. And what was happening is they'd use it, fill it, it'd be full of dirt and hair and bugs and all that kind of thing. But they were crawling in, either stepping over the top, or the little ones were crawling in over the ladder, because it wasn't messing up the pool at all. But right here is the filter, and we kept getting hair out of that filter. So we got a lot of hair. I've got a little bit of it over there. Cindy Dosen up from Vancouver, BC, she did an analysis of the hair. Turns out to be naturally uncut hair. All of your hair, seen a barber, its ends are sheared off straight. But somebody who's never seen a barber, their hair is rounded at the end. So definitely the Sasquatch hair. They also get around. Napa Vine site back in October 17. The guy there says, I've been seeing this strange one, a different one, and we're calling him Felix because he's got these pointy looking ears. And he drew a little sketch, and so I took that sketch and kept it. And then we're dealing with another witness just a few months later, and he sketches up that. So these are 15 miles apart as crow flies. And pretty good match. And so when I took the picture here and sent it to this guy over here, he goes, yeah, that's him. And they've still seen him. They've seen him recently. So they can tromp all over the place. They can move, cover a lot of ground. So other things to watch for, handprints on the side of the house, windows, and other places. They're oily. Their hair is oily, their hands are oily. But if you think about it, if you never bathed, you'd be oily too. Your hair would be greasy, your hands are greasy. I mean, we're always washing off our glasses because we're touching them. So they'll come by and they'll leave handprints. There's an example on the front porch railing, on the window, and on a chair. So this was a fun story. Again at the Napavine site. It was December, just a couple of days before Christmas. So, 6:30 in the evening, it's dark. And she comes out the front door, which is over here on this side, and there's a little one standing there holding on to that rocking chair. And he's like, oh crap, what am I going to do now? She's out here and she's seeing me, what am I going to do? And after looking back at her a few times, he decided he's jumping over the railing. He left some scratch marks in the railings he did. He disappeared off that night. Well, what it turned out was he had been laying in the hammock. There was a little kid-sized wet print in the hammock. And they also had been sitting in the chairs. And when I got there, I noticed that in the cracks of the deck there, it was just packed with hair. And it was the hair that matched the hair we got out of the swimming pool filter. So I walked up there and knocked on the door, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, they've been hanging out on the front porch. And they also bring things, they'll leave things in here, but just odd stuff, rocks and sticks and that kind of thing. I don't know whether they're playing with that stuff or just leaving it to say, hey, we were here. But these are the kind of things that you're going to see when you're having them for neighbors. Sometimes the things that are taken or returned days or weeks later. If your TV is oriented so they can see your TV from outside your house, they'll watch your TV. They'll hang out there and watch TV. We have a number of different accounts of that happening, not only on the Applebee's site, but other people. Stan Courtney, researcher from Montana, he arranged his house so that they could watch TV, and they've been doing that. You might hear them singing, laughing, chattering, whispering, snoring, all of that. A site down by Eatonville. The woman worked with horses and was there by herself all day long. Her husband went off, he had a construction job, the kids were gone. And so they would watch her work with the horses. And she'd hear them chattering, talking, whispering. And one day she calls me up, she says, do they snore? I said, I suppose they would snore, and why not, And she says, well, there was one out in a clear cut across the road from us, and it was snoring. It sounded just like my husband. And another time she called me and says, do they sing? And I said, yeah, we've had reports of them singing. And she said, well, one came by the house and walked around, and, stayed in the forest, but walked around the house and into the clear cut, and it was singing. So I said, what did it sound like? And she said, well, it sounded like a woman who was singing in Chinese and was very happy. And they have, little ones, so they'll play around your place, get up on your roof, scamper around. Barb Shoot told the ones out at her place that were jumping from tree to tree. They're really fast. So I got a little video clip I'll show you in a minute, and you get an idea of how fast they are. And they move really rapidly. Even the full-size ones, they move like a shadow at night, and they're really quick when they go by. They don't just kind of lumber along, they get up and move. And yet, they can do it silently. They can walk through the forest and you can't hear them. Then on the other hand, sometimes it might be heard and they'll stomp their feet. But they appear to glide. Human beings, when we walk, we kind of bob. They don't bob. They just glide along. So when you got your eye glow, some people call it eye shine. To me, eye shine is when you shine a flashlight at a deer and you see its eyes shine back. Eye glow needs no flashlight. The whites of their eyes, the sclera, can generate its own light, and that's what you see. And it can be red, orange, green, white, blue. Not sure what the differences in colors mean. It seems like the blue ones are generally the really little ones. It may have something to do with their emotion. If they're cool with you, it might be white. If they're not happy with you, maybe it's going to be red. Don't know. That's just a guess. But you'll see that. And they'll peek in your windows. You know, their idea of propriety is different than ours. They're just curious, so they'll peek in your windows. It can be a little freaky when you see them looking back at you. Smell. Okay, so I already talked about that first one I ran into, and it smelled really bad. Well, the girl Sasquatches smell really good. They'll smell like cinnamon, vanilla, fresh baked donuts, that kind of thing. But they're girls, they like to smell good. They don't like to stink like us guys. So if you smell that kind of smell, you probably have a female hanging around. Okay, there's that video clip. Let's see if this one's going to work. There it is over there. See how fast it disappeared and then it popped up over here. That's quick. That's moving out. So, in conclusion, I'm not going to use up all my time and make you kick me off the stage. Okay, most people are really frightened of them. You know, the idea of a great big, hairy, scary looking thing is a little disconcerting to people when they first run into one, haven't had a knowing type interaction and just really figure it out. But over time, you realize they're nothing to be afraid of. They're smart, they're connected with each other. By connected, I mean what one knows, they all know. If one knows you, they all know you. They read your emotions, they feel your emotions, they feel each other's. They're funny, they have a sense of humor. It's real subtle. And you won't see them very often, but they will make their presence known if you know what to look for. And that's part of, that's part of the reason I'm talking to you here today, is to show you what to look for if you happen to have a situation where you're, living out in an area where they'll be. Now that doesn't have to be way out in the woods. It could be in a house a half a mile from here. If you've got forests nearby, they can come by and visit you. Even down around Kent, Auburn, a friend of mine has a place down there. They come by regularly there. They follow the rivers, all the green belts, that kind of thing. They'll go wherever they want to go, and they'll turn up in places you never expect. And here's another thing, is they can float. How many have seen the movie Predator? Okay, it's just like that. And how they do it, we're not exactly sure. Some people say their vibratory frequency is higher to a point where you can't see them. It's like watching an airplane propeller. When it's going at a slow speed, you can see the prop. Once it's at full speed, it's so fast, your brain, your eyes cannot see it. We can't assimilate the information quick enough. And so they just kind of blink out. When they want to be seen, they slow that down, you can see them. So they can be standing right next to you and you don't see them. Barb Shoup got a really good little piece of video. Those who were here last night got to see that video. I've seen them do it, walk across the trail in front of me in that state. And if you're lucky to have them as neighbors, you're really fortunate, because you'll find that you become very protective of them. You won't necessarily go blabbing about it, because you don't want a bunch of people showing up, I want to see the Sasquatch, show me the Sasquatch. So that's all I have for you today, and look forward to talking to you later.